Ever felt like you can't see the wood for the trees? That common saying owes its existence to the idea of being lost in a forest, where everything looks the same no matter which direction you're facing. Thick, dense forests are reminders of how awesome the power of nature can be when it's left unchecked. A lush forest can provide homes for exotic creatures or hiding places for buried treasure. Here are just some of the most surprising secrets that forests have been keeping from us. In the event of conflict or disaster, a forest makes an excellent place to retreat to. With a good military forest base, you can see the enemy approach from any direction, while taking advantage of the camouflage of the trees. That probably explains why this enormous two-story defense bunker was built in the forests near Balashov during the time of the Soviet Republic. Even though the bunker has now been abandoned for many years, it's still in excellent condition because of the airtight seals around the doors. The bunker was clearly intended for long-term use if necessary. There are desk and classroom facilities within the walls and plenty of sleeping spaces. Urban explorers visited the site in 2018, but they've been reluctant to reveal the precise location of the secret bunker because they don't want to run the risk of other visitors damaging it. If you were walking through the woods and you came across a huge, eerie ball in the middle of nowhere, what would you think? Would you assume that you'd stumbled across an alien landing or a secret military base? That's what a lot of people believe when they encountered this giant hollow fiberglass ball in a woodland area near Dubna. The ball has unusual acoustic properties, leading people to speculate that it might be anything from a crashed alien spaceship to the church of a strange religious cult. Its true purpose is unknown, but the most popular theory is that it's an old radar dome which was once used during the Soviet era for covert surveillance. It's been abandoned since at least 1980, and in more recent years has found itself used for other purposes. For example, as a unique concert venue. If you can work out what these 150,000-year-old iron pipes in China are, then you'll be doing a better job than the world's leading scientists. Known as the Gong pipes, they've been confusing experts for years. The pipes are hollow and mostly made up of iron and calcium oxide. When detailed tests were performed in 2001 and their age was established, they were found to predate any known human civilization in the area. Some people concluded that they must be evidence of an extraterrestrial advanced being living on the land long before humans came along. But science's best guess is that there's a more natural explanation. It's thought that the pipes are the result of minerals forming around the roots of ancient tree roots, which have long since fossilized and rotted away, leaving only the hollow shells. If you were out walking in the forests of the Svevolozhsk district and came across this grassy structure, at first glance, you might think you've come across a den built by children. There's nothing childlike about the contents, though. This is actually Pillbox number 824, and it was once the second line of Leningrad's defenses. Internally, it's a little weathered and worn now, but you can still clearly see evidence of its former purpose. That includes machinery and mounts, upon which powerful machine guns were once installed. There are also water points and storage cupboards, the framework of which still remains. This humble shack once contained everything a soldier would need for prolonged stakeout operations. Here's another abandoned relic of the Soviet Army, this time in the undergrowth of the forests of Vinnytsia. The network of bunkers and tunnels are all that remains of what was once an observation point belonging to the 43rd Rocket Army's air defense system. The location was carefully selected as it's hard to reach and therefore safe from prying eyes. But as all the equipment has long since been removed, it's now a fascinating tourist destination. The site expands both along and below the earth, with brick pits and corridors connecting one room to the next. The purpose of some of the rooms is unclear, but it's reasonable to assume there were once transformers, power sources, and various pieces of missile equipment housed here years ago. It's a dark and scary place, so we don't recommend visiting it alone. But if you can persuade some friends to come along with you, it's a great place for an unusual photo opportunity. Some say that a visit to Hexagram Forest in Latvia can cure a human being from any illness. Others say that it's cursed, and that stealing one of the rocks from the site will result in whoever took it suffering from illness or accident. What is clear is that the area, sometimes called Latvia's Stonehenge, is a mystical and wondrous place. Compasses and watches stop working within the forest, even though no radiation has ever been detected. And there are stories of strange lights and stones that are always warm to the touch, even in the middle of winter. The rocks used to make the structures have been assembled carefully around the hills and don't appear to be from the local area. Did this place once have religious significance, or was the stone simply brought here to build a castle or fort, only to be abandoned? Nobody knows for sure, but it's fun to speculate. Christopher Thomas Knight must have a fantastic story to tell, if he ever chooses to do so. The problem is that he doesn't really want to talk to anybody. Known as America's Last Hermit, Knight lived on complete solitude in forest land near Belgrade in Maine for over 27 years, surviving by stealing food in propane tanks from nearby cabins and homes. He only spoke to one person on one occasion during all those years, and we only know his name at all because he was finally caught and arrested for one theft too many. Knight walked into the woods alone, with no possessions, when he was only 20 years old. Although he gave some interviews to an author who wrote a book about him, he's never been able to explain his motivation for completely breaking contact with the world. He simply wanted to be alone. We usually hear stories about heathens and pagans in history books, so it's a little surprising to find out that they're still active in the modern day, especially in the frozen wilderness of Bryansk's forests. Blogger Vladimir Cheselin has been documenting an area of woodland near the Vetima River for years and has photographed plenty of evidence of strange rituals happening on the land. Wood carvings appear and then disappear. People apparently visit every winter and make new ice sculptures and hang the bodies of snakes from nearby trees. Cheselin even claims to have found a witch's house surrounded by animal skulls. That doesn't sound like the sort of place you'd want to visit alone. Something otherworldly is clearly occurring in this area, which has been nicknamed Bethma's Place. It's known that pagans worshipped here centuries ago, and their ancient burial mounds remain here as evidence. Who or what is still coming back so regularly in the present day? There are many theories about how crop circles are created. UFO enthusiasts insist they're the work of alien visitors. Scientists believe they're more likely to be the work of earthbound pranksters. Human origins are definitely the more likely explanation, but who would go to the trouble of carving paths through an Estonian forest in the shape of a hexagram? The pattern is clearly visible from above and is geometrically perfect. Villagers in the nearby town of Ruli say that the forests were once used by the Soviet military to test anti-aircraft missiles, but why would Soviet soldiers create such a terrifying shape to mark out their testing space? Was it to scare away trespassers, or are other forces at work here? Visitors to the site say that they get a strange, eerie feeling when they walk through the trees. Would you be brave enough to wander through them yourself? Tightly packed forests are difficult for humans to explore, and so it's no surprise that the few remaining unexplored areas of land on our planet are forests. When we do voyage into uncharted territories to see what's there, sometimes we find new species of animals. These adorable mammals are a good recent example of what we mean. Known as olinguito, their habitat is the forests of Ecuador and Colombia. The little tree dwellers are only 1 foot long and are an offshoot of the raccoon family. They only come out at night and their diet is mostly fruit, but they have been known to eat meat as well. That makes them the first new meat-eating animal to have been discovered in the Western Hemisphere for 40 years. Your natural instinct upon finding a full-sized Boeing 727 in woodland would be to assume it crashed there. In the case of this one, which is permanently stationed, at a secret location in the woodlands of Oregon, nothing could be further from the truth. The retired plane is the permanent home of Bruce Campbell, who purchased it for $100,000 in 1999 and set to work on converting it into his personal residence. Most of the fixtures and fittings on the plane are still inside, although Campbell has adapted them to make the environment more conducive to day-to-day life. For example, he's removed all the seats. He also loves visitors and conducts tours, so feel free to contact him if you're ever in the area and find out all the intimate details. The plane had quite the noble history before reaching its final destination. Former First Lady of the United States of America Jackie Onassis herself was once a passenger. When the wind blows strongly, we are used to a few things happening outside. Trees may bend in the breeze. Leaves may fall from the trees and scatter across the air. What shouldn't happen is the land itself moves, as if it were breathing. That's what's happening in this astonishing footage from Quebec, though, and it looks like something from a horror movie. Despite its bizarre appearance, this isn't a clip from a horror movie, nor is it an earthquake or a volcanic eruption. It's the simple product of land becoming saturated and softened by the rain, and the mighty roots of the trees heaving against the ground, pushing it up as the trees battle with the wind. In extreme cases, the roots can burst through the sodden turf, and the trees will fall over. That's a pretty good reason to turn back and find a different path to walk on. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.